Autistic meltdowns, especially in adults here, we're going to talk about this. What do you think the cause of that is? Now, if you ask the average neurotypical non-autistic person, a lot of the times I hear them say, oh, it's because they didn't get their way. Even in children, that isn't actually correct. Let's talk about it. Now, I'm a late diagnosed autistic adult. It was about 5 years ago I found out I was autistic, and now it's become one of my special interests. So I feel like that I'm not an expert at this, but I've got a unique perspective about it. And based on my personal experience and my observations of other autistic people, especially in media or on social media and such, my opinion on this, it is due to poor boundaries combined with people pleasing. Those two things don't go together very well. And if you look back in your life, if you're autistic or you think that you are, based on what you've seen, what you see in social media, you relate to some of the traits, you might look back and realise that this is a little bit true. I will just say boundaries are quite complicated, but boundaries are not. What they're not is not a set of rules that you give other people that they must follow, because plot twist, people won't follow them and you can't make people do things. You can try, if you want to do that, be my guest, but it doesn't work. What you can do is make requests of people. And also a thing to say about boundaries that I didn't realise, this was a real eye-opener for me to realise that I actually have rights. I'm allowed to say no, I'm allowed to have preferences, and it's not selfish of me to do so. Of course, there are situations where it would be, but for the most part, if I'm choosing something for my benefit, and we all know what selfish behaviour is. Putting that aside, and I'll give you an example. Many years ago, somebody gave me something. They said, "Here, you can have this thing." I don't want to describe too much in case that person watches it and knows what I'm talking about, knows that it's them. I don't want to really shame anyone or for anyone else to watch this and know that what I'm talking about. So someone's given me something. They haven't loaned it to me. They gave it. Here, you can have this. And I was like, are you sure? And they're like, yes, please take this thing. I'm like, okay, because there was a lot of back and forth before that. So they gave it to me. And then a few years later, now I wasn't using it, but I was coming up, it was likely I was going to start using it again, but I wasn't able to. It was things preventing me from using this thing. And they knew that. They knew that I wasn't using it, but they needed this item. They needed, and I'm like, so they rang me and asked, could they have it back? Now, I reluctantly agreed, and I only agreed because I thought it was a reasonable request. And I think people who wanted to manipulate me have given me the impression that you should always say yes to reasonable requests. So I said yes, reluctantly. I did not want to give this thing back, by the way. That's the reality of the situation. Didn't want to give it back, but I did, believing it was the right thing to do, with the promise that they were only going to borrow it and give it back to me. And then that changed from they were going to give it back to, oh, we'll buy you a new one, to, oh, I'll get, and then in the end, the day came, crunch time came. I'm like, I'm going to need this thing, where is it? And they're like, oh, we'll give you $100. And it was like a minimum $500 Australian dollars item. And why am I bringing this up, right? At the time, that person was an arsehole to me. They were dead to me. I hated them, and it was a real, it was a real big deal to me at the time. But as soon as I learned about boundaries, I looked back at that and thought, oh, if I had boundaries back then, I could have avoided the whole fucking thing. I could have just said, no, I'm not giving it back. Simple as that. And this is where the meltdowns come in. I had a fucking meltdown over this, right? And there's other situations. Again, I must insist that I am not an expert at boundaries. I'm just somebody who didn't know what they were. Literally, when someone said the word boundaries and said I didn't have them, I didn't know what they meant. They didn't want to explain it. But essentially, you have rights. We have rights. We are allowed to make requests of other people. And if they don't follow them, then it's up to us to do something else, to do something differently. Now, I know that doesn't quite 100% apply to that scenario, but in other cases, you think about it, situations you've been put in. Another case situation I was put in, I didn't like. I didn't want to be in this situation. But I allowed myself to be in it. I was allowed to leave, but I chose not to. And I was just trying to please people. And when I didn't leave, eventually it got too much and I had a meltdown. And of course, I'm seen as the arsehole there. I thought they were the arseholes too, by the way. But when I look back again, I realised, oh, why didn't I just say no? Why didn't I just say, I don't want to be in this group and be done with it? I didn't have to. So I hope that makes sense. So as I said, simply put, our meltdowns do happen. As adults, they happen because we don't believe we have rights. We don't therefore have boundaries that we exercise. And that is the key to the whole thing. Believe me, I look back at almost every scenario where I've had a meltdown. It's come down to me trying to please other people or not choosing to have my own rights and not believing that I have a right to. As I said before, don't forget, don't go the other way where some people believe boundaries are a set of rules you give other people that they must follow. You can make requests of people. There's no such thing as making them. And if you're expecting people to do things differently because you said, or you need an accommodation or whatever it might be, you're going to be you're setting yourself up for disappointment. And I think that's really healthy to realise where your power lies. Your power lies in what you can do. Make a request. If they don't do what you've asked, then you do something. You remove yourself from this. Whatever it is you physically need to do, take action to address the situation. Now, before I finish this, I will say I know that I'm making boundaries sound easy. They are not, especially at the start. A lot of boundary setting requires us to say no to people. And it's really difficult because they will push back. You'll say, no, I'm not going to do this thing. And they're going to go, why not? They wanted you to justify yourself and everything. I'm encouraging you to push through that fear because nothing bad really will happen. And if you do think it is, go with that. There's a thing in DBT therapy, which is called radical acceptance, where you imagine the worst case scenario and accept that that will happen. So if you think your dad's going to disown you because you won't let him borrow your tractor, whatever, like I'm just making that up because there's a tractor behind me. But if that's what you think it is, you think, oh, yeah, Dad wants to borrow my tractor. I'm done with him borrowing my tractor. I'm going to say no. If I say no, he's going to disown me. You don't know that, but just go ahead and say, okay, I'll accept that that might happen. And also think about the repercussions of that. What does that really say? If your family member would go as far as disowning you, kicking you out of the family because you won't do something that they want you to do. Just think about what that means really. It's obviously not a good thing, is it? Right? And also, do you want to continue being part of a family or a friend group or whatever it is where there's always these consequences over your head? And I've said in other videos, this may result in you losing friends or losing contact with family members because you don't see eye to eye anymore. Please don't be afraid of that. Just realise that this is healthy and it is hard and it is very much for your benefit. You will find you have far fewer meltdowns. You will live a much happier life and you'll have the right people in your life. If you've got any questions about this, pop them in the comments below. Have yourself a good day.